Hello, listeners. My name is Dan Dick, and this is Tales from the Mennonite Heritage Archives, bringing you another story about people, places, and events from Mennonite history. February is often called the month of love because Valentine's Day lands on February 14th. Now, if you missed going out for dinner or planning that special meal for your loved one, fear not. The team at Tales from the Archives is here to help. It's time to put away all the tired and recycled dinner plans of years past. Forget about the chicken parmigiana, the smoked barbecue back ribs, or the filet mignon with marinated mushrooms. It's time for something different, and by different, we mean FASPA. A romantic FASPA means sitting down with your loved one to enjoy some fresh-baked rolls, aka zwieback, served with slices of delicious cold ham. Put some farm-fresh cheddar cheese on that old wooden cheese board you inherited from Grandma. Or better yet, lay out some fresh, bright orange cheese curds on a luncheon plate, surrounded by Aunt Olga's dark green homemade pickles. Light a nice white taper candle on either side of the coffee pot, put out the homemade jam and fruit preserves, and you have a Mennonite recipe for intimate fellowship, FASPA style. The way we see it, FASPA is a 5-letter word for L-O-V-E. You can thank us later. Okay, that was fun for a minute, but let's get down to the real business of FASPA. When we're talking about FASPA, we're talking about homegrown food, ingredients sourced close to home, handmade with love. It's meant to be uncomplicated to prepare and best enjoyed in the company of family, friends, and good conversation. Carl Koop, history professor at Canadian Mennonite University, traces the origins of the word FASPA in a short YouTube video.
In Germany, such a meal is sometimes referred to as Festbad. The word Festbad, or Vesper in English, comes from classical Latin meaning evening and can also refer to an evening liturgy or evening worship service.
If you come from a farming background, you might think of FASPA as a portable meal enjoyed out in the field. FASPA provides much-needed sustenance for the hard work that has to get done before dark. Among modern, and perhaps especially urban Mennonites, FASPA today will more likely be served on Sundays. It's often served at funerals and sometimes at weddings. To explore the history and the Mennonite idea of a FASPA meal, I called on Josh Penner. Josh is such a fervent believer in FASPA that he recently opened FASPA Catering and Food Market in Winnipeg. Initially, Josh's knowledge about FASPA came from personal experience of the meal with family and at church and social events. But he soon learned there was much more to the FASPA tradition.
My ideas of FASPA was, after church, after a funeral, you go downstairs and it's cheese and buns, sugar cubes and coffee, right? And I think what I learned about it is that the fellowship behind it, which is something that I didn't appreciate before all of this and knowing why.
Before opening shop, Josh researched FASPA at the Mennonite Heritage Archives, where he met Eleanor Chornaboy, author of a book on FASPA, and archivist Conrad Stace.
What I learned was, first of all, that the archives existed as millennial Mennonite who's not really involved in the culture or anything of it other than knowing that this is where I come from, and to see someone preserving it was really inspirational. And then when I kind of started talking to him about, well, I want to look at it from a food angle and the culture as it relates to food. So it was a great chance to kind of see just some of the old articles and everything that they had stored up there. And it was just awesome to kind of be able to plot the journey from southern Russia to southern Manitoba to me at this day.
Sharing traditional Mennonite foods is important to Josh for several reasons.
It helps me connect with my past and my history, and that helped shape not only who I am as far as a chef or as a culinary food philosophy, but also as a person, and the humbleness and the practicality and the dedication, I think, that comes from growing up Mennonite. And we share that through food because I honestly think that shows up in our food.
Non-Mennonite folks who hear a description of FASPA might say, I just call that lunch.
I struggle with that too, and to that I would say, well, it's not, because it's not lunch. It's not as full of a meal as lunch. Then you're missing kind of the fellowship behind it. That's what's missing. So if you say it's just lunch, like it's not. It's definitely something more profound.
I wanted to know how Josh's research helped him establish his FASPA shop.
I'm a chef, so I have a passion for food. I had never really combined my passion for food with wanting to know more about my history and my culture. So I think that it really helped ignite being able to have conversations about the history of maybe some of the stuff, or the history even of my family. Like, I wouldn't have known that 2 years ago when I was executive chef at a restaurant, right? Like, not doing Mennonite food. So I think it's really helped me connect, and it's really kindled my passion, and obviously opening a business and going through trials and ups and downs, and it's not always the easiest, but I think throughout the knowledge that I've gained and continue to gain, that's kind of what has really helped and fueled me.
The philosophy behind the idea of FASPA is prompting Josh to carry on the tradition.
Well, I think that, first of all, like, so slow food. So slow food takes time. You want to know where it's coming from. You want to know how that ingredient, whether it was a vegetable or meat, how it was raised, who handled it, how did it get to your kitchen, how is it prepared from your kitchen, and how does it go to the person consuming it. So I think Mennonite food, especially southern Manitoba, like our people, that's the definition of slow food, is how we've done it. So why I think it's important is to, first of all, the world needs to eat this way. That we need to find more sustainable options for growing and consuming food, for obvious reasons, whether it's economical or ecological, and for health reasons amongst people. This is the way the world needs to eat 50 years from now. This is just how it has to be. And then I think that I can help bring my culture and our culture. This is something we've always done. Like, this, like I said earlier about my grandma, she was 90 something years old and still preserving and growing her own food, because that was just what she always did. And it kind of started when she was a child to where she was. And I think we need to connect culture, and we need to connect food in a way that is kind of symbiotic with the environment and with fair trade and with sustainability and the way people get paid and how people make livings. And I think the Mennonite food philosophy is absolutely in line with the food tradition we need to take on.
Using locally sourced ingredients are so important to Josh that he grew many of his own vegetables and herbs in preparation for his first year of operating FASPA. He learned from his 90-year-old grandma, who still had her own garden. She taught him how to fertilize the soil, when to weed and when not to, how to control pests, and when to harvest. Using food grown with the help of his own hands gave him renewed appreciation for locally grown foods. Although growing his own food was a great experience, ultimately he didn't have the time to garden and run the shop.
It really all stemmed in my grandma's garden, tasting rhubarb and zirp for the first time, and it kind of took off from there. Like, I work with a lot of farmers directly to get everything from our grains to our meats grains that we make our breads with, to the meats that we use in our farmer sausage and soups. So to being able to support them while they're supporting me is great too.
Many of Josh's customers represent millennial Mennonites who crave foods from their childhoods, and grandmothers who want to taste his recipes and ask him to cater events at care homes.
The people that are in that demographic of whose parents grew up on a farm, but we're so far removed from living on a farm that it's kind of crazy. Only 2 generations later, we don't know how to farm, and that was the livelihood of what made us prosperous in the first place. So I think there's so many of them that come in and they see things like Pluma Mouse or the Vedanatia or Chiltia, and they go, oh, I haven't had that in so long, and that's the connection that I was really hoping for, and that I get. And then the other one is the elderly Mennonites that come in, and I get, this is probably another thing I was surprised with how many grouse mamas wanted to come and try my food and cater their parties. I've done a number of birthday parties at retirement homes, and the feedback from them is, they haven't made it in maybe 15, 20 years because they're too old, or they remember this food, but they just have such a connection to halapshi and schmalmfat, but they haven't been able to make it in so long. And then hearing the feedback from them that they really enjoyed it. And for me, if I can get Grouse Mama's approval on a thing like plumamaus or halapshi, then I know I'm doing a pretty good job with replicating Mennonite food.
He's excited to share what FOSPA means with his non-Mennonite clientele.
Question I get a lot is, what is a FOSPA? And then so I kind of get to share what that means to me and what that means to us as Mennonites, and that it's so much more than just, pickles and cheese and cold cuts, but it's more about gathering and fellowship.
Josh has goals for FOSPA Catering and Food Market that go beyond earning a living.
I don't think anyone celebrates Mennonite food, and it should be. So my dream is to satisfy what I needed out of my life at the time when I opened FOSPA, and to help spread this to other people, and to help other Mennonites, like my demographic that grew up disconnected maybe a little bit from it, and to really help them reconnect with it, and on a cultural level, and not on a, what church did you go to or that sort of thing, but more about we're Mennonites as a culture and as a heritage, and really help be inclusive and connect everyone with it who's maybe was disconnected from it or had certain reservations about it, to really help bridge the gap and take us to something to be proud of.
For Josh, bringing FOSPA to people means lifting the spirits of his diners.
What brings me joy from it is, first of all, creating food. It's amazing. I'll be working sometimes and I get a big order, so we do a lot of catering, so I'll have to make 500 Vedanatia over, a 3-day period. And it's like, oh man, that's a lot of Vedanatia to make. That's when I kind of have like a holy moly moment where I'm able to say, well, I'm doing it, it's happening, and it's going out to the people, because we cater events, but it's not all Mennonites that are, if it's a 200-person event, it's not all Mennonites that are eating this. So, being able to expose other people to this food.
Still, he does sometimes get suggestions for improving his recipes.
We do get some feedback that's not entirely positive, because some of the stuff isn't the way their grouse mama made it. I am a professionally trained chef, so I do use techniques, that things like braising bones before making a stock. We make our own cottage cheese that goes into the Vedanatia, so it might be a little bit softer or might be a little bit more firm than the dried cottage cheese maybe you used, but. So it's meant to be familiar, but not exactly as Grouse Mama would have made it.
Josh wants your help to celebrate Mennonite food. He'd love to hear from listeners about what FOSPA means to them.
What does FOSPA mean to you? That's the first thing. And then I think to the more specific questions is, what's non-negotiable items, like sacred cow items, that have to be presented during FOSPA, other than the sugar cube. We already established that. Sugar cube coffee, what can't be missed, and what can be given, what could be take it or leave it FOSPA items, and then what are things you'd like to see on FOSPA. So you can go to our website. It's fospawpg.ca. All of our contact information is there, or you can always fire us off an email at fospawpg@gmail.com.
Thank you, Josh Penner, for sharing your thoughts about FOSPA. Thanks also to MHA archivist Conrad Stace for prompting this exploration of tradition. To see photos and more content related to this episode, or to listen to this episode again, visit mharchives.ca. If you have questions or comments about this program, email us at info@mharchives.ca. Next week, we'll bring you a story about Katharina Thiessen. Medically trained in Germany and later the USA, she was prosecuted for illegally practicing medicine in southern Manitoba. Join us and find out how the charges came about and the consequences of the court case.
I'm Archivist Conrad Stace. Thanks for listening to Tales from the Mennonite Heritage Archives. This program is made possible through support from Golden West Radio and listeners like you. If you want to support this program and the work of the archives, you can find out how to do that on our website at mharchives.ca and click on support.
I'm your host, Dan Dick. Tales from the Mennonite Heritage Archives will be back next week with another story about people, places, and events from Mennonite history. Thanks for listening.